Good morning. Welcome into Five Clubs here on a Monday morning on Golf Channel. You can also listen. That is PGA Tour Radio. That's Channel 92 on Sirius XM. I am Gary Williams. Great to have you with us. This program is always brought to you by Century Insurance. They are right by you, and boy, do they do the right things, the things they invest in the game of golf, their relationship with the United States Golf Association. They've got a pretty big day today. Of course, the first tee as well in sponsoring that first event of the calendar year of the PGA Tour. How about Peter Millar? Everything I wear and have worn for 15 years. Has been Peter Millar, rightfully so, because they have been refining performance, luxury, and style for more than 2 decades. Pinehurst, the cradle of American golf when it comes to USGA championships or the championship you have with your friends. There's always a great time and great reason to book a trip there. And Golf Pride when it comes to grips. And there are going to be a lot of people gripping it around the country trying to get to a national championship today. And overwhelmingly, more of them trust Golf Pride than any other grip company in the world. I mentioned a national championship. We're going to begin there, but let me just say, I try not to be accidental about a lot of things. This regimental striped tie ain't by accident. I'm not PJ Boatwright. I'm not Joe Dye. I'm not Bill Campbell. I'm not Buzz Taylor. But the homage to them today, because the USGA, and they would proudly wear these regimental striped ties with these blue blazers, and you go, they're in charge. Well, they're in charge today on a big, big day. But let's start with a championship they conducted yesterday, which in the sense that it concluded out there at Erin Hills, and that is the U.S. Women's Open. Congratulations to Maya Stark. They're all weighted equally in the grand history book of golf when it comes to major championships, but most people believe that the U.S. Women's Open, it is the granddaddy of them all, the grandest of them all, the oldest, and usually the most stern examination. That was pretty much the case. So at 25 years of age from Sweden, and if you consider the likes of Pernilla Lindberg and Helen Alfredsson and Lisa Lott Neumann, and oh, by the way, Annika Sorenstam, to add her name to a list of women like that, most notably Annika. She was the last in 2006 to win this championship, which was also the last European to hoist that U.S. Women's Open trophy. She does it. And she does it in a way that was not easy to have a lead. You want to have it, but you want to not be necessarily defensive, and U.S. Open setups generally make you that. She was the story, and as I said, at 25, she is now a major champion. You consider you look at Europe overall, you look specifically at Sweden. They have wonderful players. They have great history, led, of course, by arguably the greatest women champion of all time, and Annika Sorenstam, a 10-time major champion. To put her name on that trophy is weighty, it's significant, and boy, was it earned. And one note about that championship out there at Erin Hills, of course, they hosted the 2017 U.S. Men's Open Championship won by Brooks Koepka, which began his major championship run, is the fact that Nelly Korda had her best finish in a U.S. Women's Open. And I know that she spoke when it was over with Cara Banks specifically of NBC Sports. And when she was asked, you've had a complicated relationship with this championship, she laughed and smiled. She said, it's still complicated. It's probably never going to be anything but complicated. Even if she does win, it may still be challenging because that is part of what that championship does to players. It challenges you psychologically and intellectually in ways that the others don't. So for Maya Stark, she wins that U.S. Women's Open, and she deserves top billing at the top of the marquee. And right behind her, we get to the Memorial, because it's nice to be back in the friendly confines of our home here for Five Clubs in Charlotte, North Carolina. But we were at Memorial on Tuesday and Wednesday, talked to a lot of players, talked to Jack and Barbara. Always a special week for them, and it's always special, whoever it's going to be, to get the handshake and then likely a milkshake, and we certainly indulged in that. As we take a look at the leaderboard of a signature series event, one of the most significant wins any player can get in their career, it's Sheffler. And he does it again, and he wins by 4, and that will be noted here in a moment. Ben Griffin's on a heater. Ben Griffin likes to play golf. Now, he's not in the field this week in Canada. He probably should be. He doesn't take many weeks off. And to his great credit, he battled but Sheffler just simply outlasts generally everybody when he gets a lead. More on that in a moment. Sepp Straka, another great week for him. Nick Taylor had a very, very turbulent weekend, but in the end, he finishes fourth alone, and there's Russell Henley. Maverick McNeely, his finish launched him not only into the top 10, but all the way into a tie for fifth. How about Brandt Snedeker? We talked to Brandt on Tuesday. This is somebody in 26 competitive rounds at that tournament. His best score to par was 69. He bettered it by 4 on Sunday, and by virtue of that 65, he jumps all the way up into a tie for seventh with Jordan Spieth. And I said this after he played his first hole when he made a par, and it was, as Frank Nobilo said, the ugliest par I think I've ever seen. That hole should just be his Hall of Fame induction video with the commentary. It summed him up, and it didn't end there. It was a wild 74, but he gets his fourth top 10. He also was somebody we spent some time with last week. Ricky Fowler gets his first top 10 of the year. Captain Keegan also at 1 under. So there is your top 7 on the leaderboard. But back to the top, the place where he resides more often than anybody. And what we're going to say about Scotty Sheffler, we try not to be too redundant here on the program, but there are times that you just kind of fall back to some of the narrative that he is now made part of what is his makeup. Because as we go forward, as he continues to add his name to very short list at little tall tops that, as you know, I'm an enormous fan of. I sit high here, but I sit alone. He sits with the likes of Snead and Nicklaus and Woods. Now, the fourth fastest player from the first win to number 16, because yesterday was number 16 for Scotty Sheffler. What exactly are we watching here? I'll tell you what we're watching, greatness. And here's the wonderful thing about sharing that word today, because Jack Nicklaus, as he sat yesterday in the post-round press conference with the champion, Scotty Sheffler, for the second consecutive year, and the last guy to go back-to-back was the guy named Tiger. He did it 91, 2000, 2001. Here's Sheffler doing another Tiger thing, and he's doing it in front of Jack. And Jack said something yesterday which was by no means intended to be disparaging to the players that he said this about. And he went through the guys who were right behind Scotty Sheffler on the leaderboard. He said, Ben Griffin, he's a nice player. And Sepp Straka, he's a nice player. And Nick Taylor, he's a nice player. But he said this for Scotty Sheffler. Whether Scotty feels this, thinks this, I don't know, says it out loud, highly doubt it. He's not in his class. He said, they're not in his class. And he's right. And here's the thing about Jack at 85, whether he was 85, 65, 45, 35, there was an absolute rigorous honesty about the things that he would share that people would at times say, gosh, you know, he's mildly arrogant. I don't know. I just think that honesty is a challenging thing for people to digest now because we get a lot of something other than honesty. I don't know what we're getting in a lot of places these days, but he's not wrong. He's not wrong in one thing that Jack Nicklaus has always done. And I don't know if it's because of his own record. He doesn't toss around great much. Go back, look at press conferences, look at conversations. And I'm talking about him talking about players who eventually made their way into the Hall of Fame. He'd say, well, he's a really good player, or he's a very good player. He does not liberally use the word great, but he uses it for Sheffler, and he's right to do so. Because Scotty Sheffler has now done something else that only Tiger has done in this century. Tiger, on 2 different occasions, meaning 2 different seasons, won at least 3 tournaments by 4 shots or more. So Scotty won yesterday by 4. His last start at the PGA won by 5. The start before that, he won by 8. In 2000, Tiger Woods won 5 events by 4 or more. And on one other occasion, another year in this century, Tiger won 3 events by 4 or more. You see what he's doing here? He's doing Tiger-like things, and nobody's projecting to 82, and nobody's projecting to 15. But if we continue to do this and we continue to have these conversations about this particular player, and if he continues to do the things that only one other person has done, what in the world are we supposed to do in terms of giving you context of the level of achievement? He is special. And I think Jordan Spieth said something Saturday in terms of where he was in relation to Scotty Sheffler and how daunting it was going to be for him to have any chance of reeling him in. He says, hey man, he has more control over the face of the club in relation to the back of the ball than anybody, and it's not close. And then beyond that, he does something that Jack and Tiger mastered. For all of the glorious 1-irons and 2-irons and flop shots and hero shots and long roadmap putts that they both made in their careers, if you look at the lion's share of their wins, they did to their opponents what eventually will happen to almost everybody. That is, the opportunity to win is not easy. So when you get in that position, a lot of times it's not so much about you pulling off the shot, it's the fact that the game is a game of imperfect. And the fact is that a lot of players, when they're put in that position of pressure and daunting opportunity, which comes along, it's elusive, it is not easy. And so here Scotty Sheffler is hitting the proper shots, missing it on the right side. And oh, by the way, for all of the stats of strokes gained approach and strokes gained tee to green, here's the other thing that he does better than anybody else. He scrambles better than anybody. And that is the difference, because scoring is taking 74 and making it 70, kind of like he did in the opening round of the PGA when he was with Xander Schauffele and Rory McIlroy, and like he did on Thursday when you're looking at his round going, that was really average. Average of 2 under on that course is not average. It's exemplary. So becoming a salvation expert, and then when it is required of you to have the chutzpah and the chops to hit those shots when needed, he can do that too. Attrition. I said it after the PGA, the last 9 holes of championship golf, those guys get a little lightheaded, and the mind and the body start to not cooperate nearly as much as they did on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. He wears them down, he wears them out. And when it's over, there he is. And one other thing about kind of this production level that we're seeing from him right now, 5-win seasons are not something that happens often. Tiger had 10 of them. Okay, that's ridiculous. He had 10 of them. So Scotty Scheffler's coming off a season where he won 7 times, and you can add the gold medal, and if it doesn't count officially, it's a pretty damn significant unofficial win because he stood on that podium and wept because he knew the gravity of the achievement. And here he is now at 3, and you're thinking he's not going to get to 5 before the end of the Tour Championship? If you want some action on that, I'm here for you, because he's going to get to 5. Spieth got 5 in 2015, and so did Jason Day. And a couple years later, Justin Thomas got to 5. Phil Mickelson won 45 times in his career. He didn't have one 5-win season. That is not to say anything disparaging about him, but he didn't. He didn't. And here sits this guy who's in the middle of what it is that he does, which is play better golf consistently more than anybody else. And what began as the season of Rory, punctuated by him arduously crossing that line at Augusta National, guess who's answered back? Greatness has answered back. And his name is Sheffler. And if you want to go lay some down on him at Oakmont, feel comfortable doing it, because Michael Bamberger, who sat in here a couple weeks ago and said something that you're going, come on, man, take it easy. It was the day after the PGA. He said, who's to say that he can't complete the career Grand Slam before the end of this year? Is it crazy? I don't think it's crazy at all. Sheffler, he's a problem for this generation of players, because he's going to go home, he's going to get a little rest, and he's going to do something he couldn't do last year before the U.S. Open. prep, because he went from winning the Memorial right to Pinehurst, and he looked gassed from the jump. Not this year. He is a big-time problem. Oh, by the way, he was one of the guys several years ago, and he did it twice. Got through final qualifying to play in the U.S. Open as an amateur. That's where we turn to next, because today they call golf's longest day, and my friend and colleague John McGinnis, he tweeted last night, it's not golf's longest day, it's golf's greatest day. He knows what it's like. He got through final qualifying to play in the 1995 U.S. Open at Shinnecock. I agree with him. This day is golf. This is about the journey. It is about dreamers. It is about journeymen. It is about the pursuit of something so rare that over 10,000 people signed up to try to get to the 156 who have a tee time at a place so hard you'd rather maybe be waterboarded. And that is Oakmont Country Club. And more than 10,000 people at the beginning of this process signed up. Final qualifying at 10 glorious sites all over this country and in Ontario, Canada as well. My thoughts on that. Plus, Ryan French, who knows the stories of all the dreamers and all the journeymen better than anybody, is going to join me at the bottom of the hour to talk about some of them. Golf's longest day begins right now for us. It's a glorious thing. It's the best Monday, of which there's not a great deal of competition, but if there was, I'd always pick this day over any other. It's nice to have you with us. It's 5 clubs on a Monday, and you damn right I'm wearing a regimental striped tie, because this is all about the United States Golf Association. You can also listen to Channel 92 PGA Tour Radio, Sirius XM. We're back right after this. Back in on a Monday, it is 5 clubs on Golf Channel. On PGA Tour Radio, that is Channel 92 on Sirius XM, and this segment is brought to you by Golf Pride. When it comes to grips, whether it is the new Align Max grip or whether it is the reverse taper putter grip, and every single option in between, there is no grip company globally that is trusted by more players. Doesn't matter what the level is, from the 2080 handicap to the +8 handicap. It is Golf Pride for us here and for all of you out there as well. Ryan French is going to join me at the bottom of the hour when it comes to the Monday Q and what he has built there. And if you think that people are not interested in the stories, because everybody who plays golf is a story and it has a story, nobody has told the story of more dreamers, more lifers, more journeymen, more people just trying to keep the lights on, to keep the dream alive. And that's what today is, because final qualifying, and this is a big day on Golf Channel. And let me just say that I was lucky enough to be at Golf Channel when this day, this final qualifying day, there are 10 sites, 9 in the United States, 1 in Canada, conveniently, not too far, where you're going to have the RBC Canadian contested on the PGA Tour this week. And you've got some players who are at that site who are in the field this week, and they try to do that as it relates to 2 sites as well in the state of Ohio right after the Memorial Tournament. It's a little bit different now. It's a signature series event. I think that there are some other sites that show you some texture and color of guys with a lot of tour experience as well, and I'm going to get to that in a moment. But when this day became a television day, it was really something that was the driving force of some people at Golf Channel I was lucky enough to be around. People who love golf, people who were thinking about, how can we do this better, and what can we add to this, and why not put this on television? And that's what they've done with Golf's Longest Day. And I'm talking about people like Matt Hegarty and Jeff Russell and Ben Dawn and Alan Robson. And there are others that I'm omitting, because I'm not going to give you a roll call of people that you may not know. Just so you do know, they're the ones who said, let's do this. And so I'll never forget that first year in 2012 that I did a 4-hour television show in the morning, got on a flight, flew to San Francisco, and brought the curtain down on qualifying from the Olympic Club, site of the U.S. Open, at 11:30 Eastern time that night, and I loved every second of it. And then did it the next year from Orlando to Philly to Marion and sitting in the backseat of a car with Damon Hack as he's talking to Kevin Sutherland, who's made his way through, and he said, God, I had to take some Advil. I can't do this anymore. 36 holes. I'm an old man. Not that old at the time. Probably at the time, maybe mid to late 40s. I don't know, but that's what today is. Because if you look at these sites, and as we show you, along with where they are, but who is being represented in terms of, when we say notables, interesting notables like Canoe Brook, which has been a bellwether final qualifying site for the United States Golf Association in Summit, New Jersey. Michael Torbjornsen, who got through the state of New Jersey. John Pock, who had a good week a couple of weeks ago at Colonial. Robbie Herzig. Why are we pointing him out? He's Gabby Herzig's brother after just graduating from Colgate. Chris Gotterup from the state of New Jersey. How about Duke University? You talk about a kaleidoscope from Webb Simpson, who won this championship. And that's the thing about the USGA. Enjoy your 10 years, boys. There ain't no lifetime exemption. Not for us. 10 years. And then go back out, not necessarily carry your own bag, but play 36 holes if you want to play in a championship. You won. Miles Russell is 17. He's there. Alex Smalley went to Duke. Harold Varner from the state of North Carolina. Tom McKibben. Bill Haas. Bill Haas is FedEx Cup champion. He'll go 36 today, as will Chesson Hadley. And then Emerald Dunes. I love this site. Blades Brown is 17 years of age. He's a professional. Luke Poulter is a little bit older. Not Ian Poulter, Luke Poulter, the son of Ian. And there he is with Graham McDowell. Graham played Ryder Cups with Luke's dad. They're at the same qualifying site. And of course, Neil Shipley, who won earlier this year on the Korn Ferry Tour, was the Low-Am at the Masters last year. And let's go forward and take a look at some of these other sites. Kinsale Golf and Fitness Club. That's the site with the most tour players, from Colley to Cole to Fowler, and all the way down to Cameron Young and some other guys in between. Guys who've won golf tournaments and been on Ryder Cups. Sorry. Go out there, 36-hole post, and see if we'll see you next week in Western PA. How about the site in Ontario? Luke Clanton, who's turning professional. He'll be in the RBC Canadian. Emiliano Grillo, Harry Hall, Garrick Higo, Ryo Hisatsune, who's having a hell of a year. Keith Mitchell, Gordon Sargent. There are other guys. There are 3 players at that site who have won NCAA individual titles. The Piedmont Driving Club. Look at that. In terms of what you're looking at. Jackson Coyven, who already has enough points to cash a chip to become a full-time member of the PGA Tour, but he's going to hold on to it, go back to Auburn. He's going to play in the Palmer Cup this week. And there's KJ Choi, who's 55 years old. He's going to go 36 holes today, we all hope, and try to make it through as well. And then as we move forward, some other notables at some of these other sites. Springfield, another site in the state of Ohio. Cole Hammer, a contributor here to 5 Clubs. Austin Greaser, who had a hell of a run in a USGA championship, obviously. Zach Blair, Bo Hosser. He led the U.S. Open after 27 holes as a 16-year-old in 2012. Brent Snedeker is 65 yesterday. And then out into the state of California, Valencia Country Club, Michael Block. We know what he did a couple of years ago at Oak Hill in the PGA. It's not just Daniel Summerhays. There's another Summerhays who's in that field as well. Walla Walla amuses me because there you see Andrew Putnam. It reminds me of Dayton in the NCAA tournament. It's like, okay, one team's coming out of there. I don't know necessarily how many spots from Walla Walla, but it's very intimate, not as many players, not as much pedigree, so they won't have that many spots. And then Woodmont, a lot of live players there, but then you have the Bryan brothers, George and Wesley Bryan, Stuart Sink, who's a major champion, Mark Leishman, live guy, Thomas Peters, live guy. How about Taylor Funk, son of Fred? He's at Woodmont Country Club. See where I'm going here? Everybody's got a story, and everybody has got a journey. And that is why qualifying to me, and the final qualifying that the USGA has, is so special. This was introduced by the United States Golf Association in 1913. Remember, we met? No, not me and you. We didn't meet in 1913. Francis. They actually had qualifying right there at the country club to create what was going to be their field. And they kind of did that for about 10 years. And then in 1924, they added basically regional qualifying, because people's interest in this after what We Met did and all of a sudden the dawn of Bobby Jones in the early 20s, golf now was becoming curious, more than a curiosity, a passion for enough people. And let me just add one other footnote. Through the years, as qualifying has evolved to now we have over 10,000 entrants. This year, a record. This is the fourth time we've had at least 10,000 entrants try to get to that final 156 number and a spot at Oakmont next week, one of the great sites for major championship golf. Consider 1953 when Oakmont hosted. They actually had qualifying for all 300 who were in the field, meaning that the top 149 in ties would play their way into the championship proper. Julius Boros, because he had won the year before, he was exempt. You know who wasn't? Ben Hogan, who had won the thing 3 times. They told Ben, hey man, you're really good and you got a hell of a resume and you've been good in this event. Go out there for 36 holes, post, and let's see how good you do and where you fall. Not only, obviously, did he get through qualifying, he won the damn thing. He won 3 majors that year. The U.S. Open has always been different. It has always been the hardest test, the most excruciating examination. And it begins with this, local qualifying to now final qualifying. So you have guys who are really established players with real accomplishment, up and down resumes. But for right now, the meritocracy of this game says, no, not by our criteria. Stick it in the ground for 36 holes, post a number, and hopefully you're good enough, and we'll see you next week at one of the hardest places to try to determine a national champion. It is the longest day. It is also among the very greatest days. We take a break. Somebody who understands it and celebrates it. He doesn't just celebrate it today. He celebrates the lifers, the journeymen, the dreamers more than anybody. That's Ryan French, the Monday Q. He joins me when we continue on this Monday as we begin golf's most glorious and longest day right after this. It is 5 Clubs on this Monday, of course, right here on Golf Channel. You can also listen. That's Channel 92 on SiriusXM's PGA Tour Radio, golf's longest day throughout the day. I know full coverage starting at noon Eastern time with people at every single site. But when it comes to like the granular stuff, the real stories, the guy who's going to join me in a moment has got it all. And this segment is brought to you by Peter Millar. When it comes to everything that I have worn for 15 years, it's right there. It's Peter Millar, because whether I am going to play golf, go on a trip, have to dress up, put a coat and tie on, go to the gym, they've got it all. They've been refining performance, luxury, and style for more than 2 decades. All right, joining me now, he's going to play some golf this week, a professional golf tournament. That, of course, Ryan French. It's the Monday Q Info. He started this site. I'll never forget, Ryan. First of all, good morning. Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for having me, Gary. I really appreciate it.
I was having a conversation in the Golf Channel newsroom with Ari Marcus, and I said, hey, man, are you familiar with this guy, Monday Q? He goes, yeah, it's really good. I'm like, really good? This is sick. Like, I've never seen anybody who has more layers peeling back of people that I am totally unfamiliar with. And obviously, you built it into a platform that people rely on. They count on it. Your following is loyal. They're passionate. And today is a great day. Did you ever try to do this? I should know this. Did you ever try to go through qualifying?
I didn't, Gary. It's just hard to travel from Michigan, and my handicap was not. I had it to the point I could have tried, but I knew enough that I wasn't good enough. So instead of going and shooting 83, I just stayed home. Okay,
so we have these 10 sites, and I know that I can do this with you, and you're going to start sharing information that's going to be delicious. The sites themselves, is there one site that tickles you the most, that you are, because there are more stories that are right in line with the things you love most? which is that the journey is continued and the lights have been kept on and the utility bills have been paid. Is there one site that you think offers that more than any other this year?
Yeah, you touched on it a little bit earlier in that last segment, Gary. Washington is always my one that I look to. I just did a preview where it's like recognizable names. And really, for the casual golf fan, the person that would probably only stand out on that tee sheet is Andrew Putnam. Besides that, it's a lot of, regular Joes or quote unquote nobodies. And so it's only going to have probably 2 spots available, but it's a bunch of guys that have never heard of. I know there's a guy named Matt Vaught who went out there. He literally messaged me. He's a dentist and he's, played college golf, obviously a very good golfer. To get through locals, you have to be a good golfer. But, he's like, this is the greatest thing that's ever happened to me in my life. And so Washington's always special because there's not any names. Obviously, it's very cool. Like in Columbus, the field is packed. Max is there. Cam Young is there. Ricky's there. And Max is playing with a high school golf coach. Now, he did play some Korn Ferry events, but now he's a high school golf coach. And so, again, I tweeted it this morning. It's the greatest day in golf to me. It is not... Everything is not equal leading up to this moment, but tee in the ground this morning, a dentist has the same chance as a PGA Tour winner to get into one of the greatest events in the sport we all love. It's very, very cool.
It absolutely is. I think the Duke University site, they had it there last year. It's back. I think that offers up a lot. It's kind of cycle of life to me, kind of site in terms of you have teenagers. And then you have people on the other side of it where Ryan Armour is in this. And I think a lot of people who watch this channel are aware that, he had Tiger Dormey in the 1993 U.S. Junior, and Tiger went birdie, went to extra holes, clipped him, and then he continued his USGA, run of match play victories on next year in 94 to that first U.S. Amateur. But from Ryan Armour to a high school kid who's a junior from Austin, Texas, and Miles Russell, what about Duke University? Is there somebody or a few people that you think are great stories?
Yeah, there's so many. There have a ton of Korn Ferry guys there. Tom Whitney is there. Tom is going to be my partner this week at the BMW, but Tom is an Air Force veteran. So is his wife, and he lost his brother, who was actually an Air Force veteran too, to suicide, and he talks openly about that. He's one of my favorite people in golf. They have 4 kids. How they make it work is such a great story. Their in-laws, their parents help to make this all work. They're a wonderful family. He's one of my closest friends that plays professional golf, and let's hope he gets through because he's a great human.
Kyle Westmoreland, I believe, is also at that site. I don't know. A couple of Air Force guys at the same final qualifying site. Has that happened before? Maybe.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's brothers. The Bryan brothers are in Maryland.
Right.
It's, again, this is what the U.S. Open is. Like, if 2 Air Force veterans got through at Duke and 2 brothers got through in Maryland, like, this is what makes this day. Obviously, I'm very biased, Gary. You know that. This is what makes this day the greatest day in golf. And as pro golf, in my opinion, gets further and further away from being the most democratic sport in the world, I think this makes this day even more important and more special.
I'm with you. I want to ask you about Canoe Brook. Canoe Brook, as somebody who grew up in the state of New Jersey, it's always had a reputation for being a reliable final qualifying site for the United States Golf Association. Of course, not too far from Liberty Corner as well. And I think about some guys there, guys like Andrew Swoboda, who grew up in Westchester County and almost had 100 starts on the PGA Tour, and now he's back as a PGA of America member, and he's playing in the PGA Championship if he can get through. He works at Butler National. And then Chris Gotterup, who's from the state of New Jersey. Michael Torbjornsen, who got through the state of New Jersey, who's from that tri-state area. How about Canoe Brook as a site? Anything stand out for you there?
Yeah. Let me talk a little bit about Chris Gotterup.
Yeah.
He got through there, I think, 2 years ago. And these are the little things that I love about the U.S. Open. So for those that don't know, Chris went to Rutgers for most of his college career and had a friend caddy for him. And so he broke out like an old college Rutgers stand bag. And I mean, he was a PGA Tour member, right? He has access to free whatever he wants. And he got through carrying his old Rutgers stand bag. So those are the little things that make this day awesome. But yeah, there's, I mean, tons of great stories. Andrew is a lifelong grinder now,
Yes.
like you said, at Butler. I'm not sure how often he works because he's always getting through Mondays, got through the PGA. I mean, the guy is like always on the road because he's so good. And then you touched a little bit about Herzig. His sister Gabby
Yes.
is actually on the bag for him. Sent me a message yesterday and was a little scared about caddying for 36 holes. So I'm not sure who needs more luck, Gabby or her brother.
Reasonable chance that when I say reasonable, she will definitely be at Oakmont next week, obviously working for The Athletic and also contributing. She'll be on this program next Monday from the site as a contributor to us. Like that's another one. Let me ask you about Emerald Dunes. Emerald Dunes has got, to me, a great wrinkle in the sense that Poulter's there and McDowell's there. The Graham we're familiar with, and one maybe that we've become a little bit more familiar with, the Poulter, because he's been on television a little bit lately as a very good college player. How about Emerald Dunes and what they have with now the next generation of Poulter, and then Graham, who won this championship in 2010, trying to get back through again?
Yeah, again, it's the mix that makes this very special, right? Like I'm sure Ian will be out there, if not caddying for him. And, you know, he gets to tee it up side by side with a major winner. There's going to be so many stories. Florida, you know, again, we say this all the time, is like, how special would it be if, you know, Ian's son got through along with Graham McDowell, who Ian played with his whole career. Again, I keep saying the same thing. It's what makes this day special. And there's so many stories, Gary, that we don't, like, even I don't know about. I look through fields, you know, that's all I do is look through mini tour fields. And I look through these tee sheets and I see countless names that I don't recognize, and they all have a story, right? And I say this all the time, is there's going to be guys who get through today that have no chance of making the cut at Oakmont. And it won't matter, right? They're going to be in their basement, at their basement bar, telling the story of how they played at Oakmont for the rest of their life. And no one's going to care that they shot 80 twice. Like, no one. They won't. They're going to have the caddy bib or whatever framed. And again, as much as I would love for a qualifier to win or play well, and those are great stories, I think the experience of just getting there is one of the more special things about this. Again, just going to tell that story for the rest of their lives.
No doubt. I want to ask you about Springfield Country Club, one of the two sites in the state of Ohio, because a couple things. Cole Hammer. Cole is trying to make his way by way of the Korn Ferry Tour to the PGA Tour. It was 10 years ago that he showed up as somebody who, yes, it said he was 15. He looked maybe 12 and a half at Chambers Bay. I mean, 10 years just goes on like that. And then the other guy, John Peterson. John Peterson was an NCAA individual title holder. I thought got I hate the term snub so much. They got choices to make. They chose not to put him on the Walker Cup team. That is a USGA decision. He was not on that team. He made a hole-in-one in 2012 at Olympic Club playing in that US. He's selling garage doors now. I mean, come on. I thought John Peterson had some Lanny Watkins in him. Like, I think that site has some great stories.
Yeah, John's been really great to me, and now I follow him, and he posts pictures of epoxy, you know. And I was like, man, this is a guy who played on the PGA Tour, and now I'm like, oh, that epoxy looks wonderful. John's been great. A very unique golf course, really, really awesome. one of my favorite courses. I've been on site there a couple of times. There will be multiple spots there, but one will probably be taken by Nick Hardy. Nick has gotten through there 5 times at that site.
Wow.
And so there's probably one less spot than they will post when they decide how many spots there are, because Nick is pretty much a legend there, and it's a course that requires it. And then, Gary, back to Cole Hammer, this is not only about a qualifier, it's about, what pro golf, the side of pro golf that I cover. Cole obviously had a wonderful amateur career, was a great player at Texas, and hasn't found that success yet in the pro game. And it just proves how hard this game is. But again, he's 36 holes and then 72 holes away from changing his life. And he's one of the many players that has the ability to, truly change his career and life in this day and then at Oakmont. So it's what I love about qualifiers in general, that you're 72 holes away from changing your life. And so Cole is a great example of how hard pro golf is.
No doubt. Last one I want to ask you about, and it's not so much about people who are unfamiliar with, it's the fact that they're so familiar with the likes of KJ Choi and Zach Johnson and Jason Duffner, who are all at the Atlanta site. How about that, Ryan? KJ Choi is 55 years old. He has captained, a President's Cup team. He's one of players. And he's going to go out there and try to get through and play in a U.S. Open. And, of course, Zach has won the Masters, won the Open Championship. That, to me, is also respecting the process. And the process here, back to your point about how meritocracy is seeping away in different areas, that they know that this is what it's about. I have to do this. You know what? I'm willing to try.
Yeah, I think it speaks to how important this championship is. To walk 36 holes when you've accomplished so much in the game, like the guys that you've listed have, is something very special. And again, it just adds to this day. And if those guys are willing to do it, want to do it, they don't have to do it. Obviously, financially, they don't need it or anything like that. They just want to play in another major. Just think how special it is for the guys who have never, played in a pro event, never played in a major, what it will mean if they get through. Because, again, KJ Choi, Jason Duffner, Patrick Harrington is in a field, Stuart Sink is in a field. These are major winners who respect the championship enough and care enough to play in another major that they're going to go walk 36 holes today and try to get it done. So I always correlate that to how much it's going to mean to guys that you've never heard of if they were lucky enough to get through today.
I can't recommend it more, not just today, but every day. And that, of course, is Monday Q. You can subscribe. You get even more information. I've been a subscriber since he launched it. Again, when he built it, I don't have any idea if you knew what you were going to do with it, how sustainable it was, as you shake your head going, I didn't. But here you are. And those stories today are going to be told, and no one can provide more color and texture than you can. Enjoy the day. Have a great week down there playing some golf with the next generation. Thanks so much.
Gary, thanks so much. Thanks for all your support through the years. I really, really can't thank you enough. And thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. There is Ryan French in Greenville, South Carolina. We take a break, come back, some final thoughts, including Ted Scott breaking one off. You'll see that next. Back in here on 5 Clubs on this Monday. Tomorrow, Taylor Zars will be joining me in studio. Also might have a guy who's making his transition from amateur golf to professional golf. This segment brought to you by Pinehurst. They had over 10,000 entrants. They were the first ones to do it back in 2014. And it's been done now 3 times since, having 10,000 entrants trying to get to that U.S. Open. And here we sit this year at Oakmont with the most. A guy who will be there has got a week off, and that is Scotty Sheffler. Back to one of the lead stories to start our program on this Monday. And we have never done like a top 5 caddy pivot of all time list. Like a guy who was on a bag, maybe a good bag, and then he pivoted to wherever he went to, and all of a sudden you're going, okay, wow, this is a great caddy pivot. Ted Scott would be in the top 5. He might be number 1. He might be like number 1 like UCLA into the late 60s into the 70s where he was undefeated for years and years and years. Here is a little video that Ted Scott posted last night in the clubhouse. We cannot play the audio that accompanied it, but you would notice that as more figures enter the screen, that they are breaking one off to something. Ted will enter the scene soon. He should be dancing. In the last month, his player has earned $10 million. That's why Ted can dance. Because just make that the simple 10%. That's a pretty good month for Ted Scott. My goodness. All right, so tomorrow we will have a full recap of what transpired with respect to qualifying. We'll talk about some of the stories that did develop about players and people that we don't know very much about. And that is all part of kind of the threads that make up this tapestry that is a U.S. Open field year in and year out. And of course, Wednesday, we're at the Palmer Cup, so we're not going to be here long. We're headed down to one of the great events in amateur golf on Wednesday at Congaree. Enjoy golf's longest day right here on Golf Channel all day. See you tomorrow.